Welcome, technical administrators and system architects. Today we are focusing on an absolutely critical domain of the GH-300 certification, managing organization-wide settings and policies, with a specific deep dive into configuring enterprise-level versus organization-level policy inheritance and overrides. Welcome, technical administrators and system architects. Today we are focusing on an absolutely critical domain of the GH-300 certification, managing organization-wide settings and policies, with a specific deep dive into configuring enterprise-level versus organization-level policy inheritance and overrides. In large, complex corporate environments, controlling exactly what AI features your developers can access is essential for maintaining strict security, privacy, and regulatory compliance. GitHub Copilot policies are fundamentally grouped into three distinct types. First, we have feature policies, which define the general availability of a specific Copilot capability and are located on the main policies page. Second, we have privacy policies, which define whether potentially sensitive data actions are allowed or blocked, providing a clear message about data impact. Finally, there are models policies, which govern the availability of alternative language models beyond the basic offerings, managing potential additional costs. These policies dictate the rules for every single member who receives a Copilot license from your enterprise. The governance structure in GitHub is strictly hierarchical, flowing directly from the enterprise level down to the individual organization level. As an enterprise owner, you wield the ultimate authority to dictate the availability of these features across your entire corporate ecosystem. The most important concept to grasp is this. If you define a firm, explicit policy at the enterprise tier, that policy absolutely overrides any local settings that an organization owner might attempt to configure. The organization-level controls become completely disabled. This strict, top-down inheritance model is by design. It ensures that critical security baselines and privacy guardrails are uniformly enforced across thousands of developers without exception. Understanding this exact inheritance mechanism is vital for exam candidates, as it dictates how you securely scale AI adoption. We will dive deep into how enterprise owners enforce these rules, exactly when they can delegate decisions to organization administrators, and how specific features like the Copilot Cloud Agent offer granular selection controls. Let us establish a strong foundation in enterprise policy governance. This JSON payload conceptualizes how enterprise policies are managed via the REST API endpoints for Copilot coding agent management. Moving deeper into the enterprise-level controls, let's explore exactly how an enterprise owner dictates policy enforcement across all underlying organizations. When managing Copilot at the highest tier, enterprise owners have the ability to set policies that apply universally, effectively locking down the configuration options for organization administrators. This is done through the AI controls dashboard at the enterprise level. For any given feature policy, you generally have a few primary enforcement options. If you select Enabled Everywhere, you are forcefully turning that Copilot feature on for all members of all organizations within this enterprise who possess a Copilot license. Conversely, if you select Disabled Everywhere, you are strictly prohibiting the use of that feature across your entire corporate footprint. The crucial takeaway for your GH-300 exam is understanding the direct consequence of these two actions. When a policy is explicitly defined at the enterprise level as either enabled or disabled, the control for that specific policy is immediately disabled at the organization level. Organization owners will be completely unable to override your enterprise mandate. They cannot turn a feature on if you have turned it off, nor can they turn it off if you have mandated it on globally. This rigorous enforcement mechanism is especially critical for privacy policies and features involving external data processing, such as the Model Context Protocol, or MCP servers. For example, if your company operates under strict data compliance regulations, and you must prevent any integration with unauthorized third-party tools, an enterprise admin can set the MCP servers and Copilot policy to Disabled Everywhere. This guarantees that no rogue organization owner can accidentally expose your proprietary codebase to an unvetted external server. By centralizing these high-stakes decisions, GitHub Copilot empowers enterprise security teams to confidently roll out AI-assisted development tools without compromising their zero-trust architectures or regulatory obligations. We will next look at what happens when you choose not to strictly enforce a policy at the top tier. When an enterprise owner applies a Disabled_Everywhere policy, such as restricting MCP servers, the REST API propagates this rule downwards instantly. In the GitHub.com UI for the child organizations, this specific setting will appear grayed out. Now, let us examine the scenario where an enterprise owner decides not to enforce a strict global mandate, but instead delegates the decision-making power down to the individual organization owners. In the Enterprise AI Controls panel, this option is typically labeled as No Policy or Let Organizations Decide. When an enterprise owner selects No Policy, the strict top-down inheritance is lifted. This specific configuration devolves the authority, meaning the impact now entirely depends on the choices made by the organization owners. For members who receive their Copilot license directly from the organization administrators are now fully empowered to configure their own specific policies. At the organization level, owners will see 3 enforcement options for feature and model policies: unconfigured, enabled, and disabled. Unconfigured acts as a temporary placeholder, meaning the policy is treated as disabled for this organization until the owner explicitly makes a choice. Once they select enabled, the feature becomes available to all members assigned Copilot by that specific organization. If they select disabled, it is blocked. For privacy-related settings, these options are distinctly named allowed and blocked to provide a much clearer message regarding the impact of the privacy policy. This delegation model is incredibly useful in large enterprises with diverse subsidiaries or departments. For instance, your experimental research and development organization might need access to cutting-edge features, like custom AI agents, or the latest large language models, so their local org owner enables them. Meanwhile, your highly regulated financial services organization can choose to keep those exact same features strictly disabled. By utilizing the no policy setting at the enterprise level, you successfully balance centralized billing and licensing with decentralized, highly customized security governance, granting individual business units the exact flexibility they need to optimize their specific developer workflows securely. Understanding this balance between enterprise control and organizational autonomy is a heavily tested concept on the GH-300 mastery exam. This configuration object highlights the exact terminology you must memorize for the exam. Notice how standard features use enabled or unconfigured, with unconfigured acting identically to disabled until acted upon. While the binary choice between global enforcement and complete delegation is powerful, some advanced GitHub Copilot features require a more nuanced approach. This brings us to the concept of granular organization selection. For highly impactful or potentially costly features, such as the Copilot Cloud Agent or the deployment of custom models, enterprise owners are not forced to choose between enabled everywhere or no policy. Instead, they can utilize a targeted rollout strategy by selecting the enabled for selected organizations or choose per organization configuration option. When an enterprise owner or AI manager selects enabled for selected organizations, they are selectively granting access to a specific subset of the enterprise. Organizations can be carefully selected individually from a list, or dynamically targeted by using organization custom properties. For example, you could define a custom property that aligns with your internal compliance tiers or departmental structures, instantly enabling Copilot Cloud Agent only for organizations tagged as Region North America or Department Engineering. However, there is a critical exam caveat regarding custom properties. Using custom properties to enable the Copilot Cloud Agent is evaluated exactly once at the time of configuration. Organizations will not be automatically enabled or disabled if that custom property is added, removed, or modified later on. This is a very common trap for exam candidates. Similarly, when managing custom API keys for third-party large language models, an enterprise administrator can navigate to the AI controls, select Choose per organization, and explicitly check or uncheck which specific organizations are allowed to route prompts to those specific models. This highly granular control mechanism allows enterprises to pilot new AI features progressively, carefully manage associated computational costs, and rigorously control risk exposure before committing to a massive, company-wide global deployment strategy. To execute a targeted rollout, the enterprise AI manager selects the specific target groups. In this logical representation, the Copilot Cloud Agent is enabled explicitly for the core engineering organization, and dynamically for any organization carrying the compliance_tier_1 custom property. One of the most complex governance scenarios you will encounter on the GH-300 certification exam involves conflicting policies across multiple organizations. What happens when a single user is a member of multiple organizations within the same enterprise, and those organizations have fundamentally different, contradictory Copilot policies? To understand this, we must look at how the license is provisioned. If an enterprise owner selects no policy at the top level, the impact depends on the user's licensing source. If a member receives access to Copilot directly from the enterprise rather than from an individual organization, the policies for enterprise-assigned users setting explicitly determines whether the no policy baseline defaults to enabled or disabled. However, if a member receives access to Copilot through multiple distinct organizations, and those organizations have conflicting policies, GitHub resolves the conflict based on the specific nature of the policy. In these conflict scenarios, either the least permissive or the most permissive policy may apply to that user, strictly depending on the policy type. For example, if a user is assigned a Copilot subscription by more than one organization, and the policy in question relates to sensitive data handling, such as the Copilot memory feature, the most restrictive setting absolutely applies. That means Copilot memory will not be used for that developer unless all of the organizations they belong to have explicitly enabled the feature. This secure by default architecture prevents a scenario where a user accidentally leaks sensitive contextual memory from a highly secure organization into a less secure organization simply because of overlapping memberships. As a Copilot administrator, you must meticulously audit user memberships and organization-level overrides to ensure that developers are not unintentionally blocked from using productivity features due to a conflicting, restrictive policy applied by a secondary organization they belong to. This pseudocode flawlessly demonstrates GitHub's conflict resolution logic for privacy-sensitive features. If a developer is in Organization A, which enables Copilot memory, and Organization B, which disables it, the system uses the .everyArray method logic. Because Organization B has the policy disabled, the final resolve state for the user is disabled. In our final slide, let's synthesize these governance concepts and walk through the exact practical steps required to configure these enterprise and organization policies. As an enterprise administrator preparing for the GH-300 exam, you must know how to navigate the GitHub interface to apply these configurations. You begin by navigating to your enterprise settings on github.com. At the top of the page, you must click on the AI Controls tab. From here, the sidebar allows you to navigate to specific policy domains. You click Agents to view policies for AI agents, Copilot to view general feature and privacy policies, and MCP to govern the Model Context Protocol servers. For each specific policy, you will interact with a drop-down menu to explicitly select your enforcement option: enabled everywhere, disabled everywhere, or no policy. If you are delegating control, the organization owners must then go to their specific organization settings, locate the code, planning, and automation section in their sidebar, click Copilot, and then click Policies to set their local overrides. Furthermore, if you wish to delegate the heavy lifting of AI administration without granting full enterprise ownership, you can create a custom role. By assigning the Manage Enterprise AI Controls and Read Enterprise Audit Logs permissions to a custom role, you can effectively establish a dedicated team of AI managers. These AI managers can view and manage agentic features and MCP configurations, while your core enterprise owners retain strict control over billing and overarching corporate security. Mastering this complex web of inheritance, overrides, granular selections, and role-based access control is the absolute key to operating GitHub Copilot responsibly at an enterprise scale. Thank you for joining this deep dive into policy management. To fully prepare for your certification and master every configuration nuance, head over to quicktechie.com right now and explore our comprehensive GH-300 training labs and practice exams. Beyond UI toggles, enterprise administrators can centrally manage Copilot CLI plugins by defining a settings.json file within a specialized .github-private repository. This file allows you to define internal plugin marketplaces, extra known marketplaces, and forcefully auto-install approved tools, enabled plugins, for all enterprise users.
Welcome to quicktechie.com. So just type in quicktechie.com here. Then you can go through the material which is provided by Quicktechie. So we have first of all video courses which you can go here and you can find the various video courses across the technologies as well as finance domain. So if you see in Microsoft, we have 8 programs currently running. Next, you can go through the ebooks available. So all the ebooks which are in PDF format today, and you can download this. So let me go through Microsoft certification ebooks. You can click on any of this and you can see this is the PDF available for you to download. So these are the premium ebook mostly available on quicktechie.com platform only. Now the second part is exam simulator. As we primarily focus on the all technology companies and finance domain certification preparation material, so this is company wide listed here and you can go through this. So let me go through the Microsoft one again. You can see this is all Microsoft related certification. AB 730 exam, if you open it, so you can see here this, and all the practice papers are available here. Today we have a 5 practice paper. So click on the first practice paper. It would load the questions. You can answer this question. This is way you can answer it and you can move to the next question. Now third material we wanted to highlight is an audiobook. So we started recently with the audiobooks as well, which you can listen on the go, and various technology wise ebooks are available. And at the last, this is our alumni. These people who are subscribing to our courses and this platform, they are all listed here. And at the end, I wanted to tell you, if you find any course or training or certification preparation material which you want to get us prepare for yourself, please put on the comment section. If you're watching on YouTube, on Udemy, or on this platform itself, quicktechie.com, then please put the comment, or you can even send an email to using this contact us options here. You can directly do the WhatsApp message. You can call us on this numbers as well.